am Pascal from Orangepixel and welcome to another video. Today I want to talk about Heroes of Loot 3 Gauntlet of Power, one of the games I'm working on, and I'm releasing a new demo. By the time this video goes live, there's a new demo. So if you don't want any spoilers for that demo, go download the demo first. Check the description of the video, it has a link, and then play it for a little bit and then come back to the video and I'll show you some new stuff that's currently in the game. And we'll also talk a little bit about what this game is and where it's going and where it's heading and when it will be done. Spoiler, I don't really know that date, but I have a vague idea of when it should be done. After the intro. Okay, so first of all, Heroes of Loot is a franchise I created over 10 years ago, I think 2012-ish. It is one of my best-selling games. It had a sequel in 2014 or 15, I think, and this is going to be the third part of the game series. And originally, this little game, this prototype started as a Vampire Survivor-like game. I know. So all credits and kudos to the guys who created Vampire Survivors, but it's kind of a simple game to create and I wanted to prove that to myself. The last couple of games I've been working on have just been getting bigger products and projects, and I just want to get back to that tiny little package that's called an arcade-like game. And I figured that if I just grab a bunch of graphics from Heroes of Loot, I already have those, if I throw them in a little prototype project and just try to create a Vampire Survivor-like game, it should be done in a couple of days. And it was actually done and playable in a couple of days. But I didn't really like it. Also played more Vampire Survivors and I understand the hype and understand a lot of people are fan of it, but not me. Sorry, there's just a lot of stuff that's not good, but I do understand the attraction it has, especially if you're a Twitch streamer. It's a lot of fun to show what you're doing and it's very easy to talk while you're playing because the controls are pretty easy, but it's lacking a bunch of things and it wasn't my type of game and not something I wanted to create. So having that basic Vampire Survivor stuff happening, I quickly added walls and created a dungeon out of it. So the walls got thrown up and now we actually have a dungeon crawler. I just need to figure out what kind of dungeon crawler, and for this part of the prototype I looked at Binding of Isaac. It's an interesting little game. Of course it grew to a huge thing with so many items and so many stuff and things happening, but originally it was a very tiny and interesting idea. Just a dungeon that's procedural, roguelike, items here, a boss room, a treasure room. I can do that. I've done it before and I figured that would actually fit very well with both Heroes of Loot but also the Vampire Survivor-like thing that I'm still keeping, the automatic shooting, the automatic stuff, and that's where the Gauntlet of Power comes in. So the original Heroes of Loot games are based on a very classic game from the 80s called Gauntlet. I can't obviously use that name, so I'm still using Heroes of Loot, but in the Discord I think it was Tim who came up with the name Gauntlet of Power, which kind of just is perfect because it both references Gauntlet and it also explains how you are able to wield a bunch of weapons and stuff that's shooting automatically. It's the Gauntlet that's shooting. And let me explain that part because it also fits in perfectly with all my other games. So I've been slowly building a universe out of my games, and this is literally the tagline I've been using for Orangepixel, building a universe. We have Heroes of Loot back in the dungeon era. Then we moved to Gunslugs, which is more the now, and Sir Questionnaire was also there somewhere in between. We had Groundskeeper. And then we have Snake Core, which is already tying in with a little bit of science fiction and the future. And then we have the Ash World, which all happens after a certain event that happened that I haven't explained in any of my games yet because I didn't really figure out what the event was. And after that we have Meganoid in the far future. Of course, Residual takes place in a very far distant future, spin-off from Meganoid. And then at the top is Space Grunts. And all of this is connected with ooze, the evil stuff. And most of that stuff was explained in Residual. As part of Residual there is ooze and it's taken over technology, but also DNA and creatures, and it's just mixing everything into trying to survive. It's trying to take over everything. So it needs to be stopped. And the Space Grunts are pretty much the reason that we now have a Gauntlet of Power. Let me get into that one. Okay, so in Residual we learned that ooze is pretty bad and is spreading everywhere. It's using portals and teleportation and time travel and things like that to just pretty much get everywhere in the whole universe. Space Grunts are the furthest point in time of the known universe, the Orangepixel universe. They are trying to clean up ooze that's been scattered here and there. They kind of stumble on a portal that by accident leads them back into the past, into a dungeon where they by accident drop some of the ooze or take some of the ooze with them and forget to clean it all up, and they teleport back into their own time and game. But that little drop of ooze is crawling around the dungeon, finds a pretty standard gauntlet, and then does its thing and transform that gauntlet into the Gauntlet of Power. It all combines and mixes into each other, and I plan on adding some sort of intro to this game so that the Space Grunts actually drop by through a portal, drop that ooze, and you see that it happens and does something, and something fun and interesting, and then we'll have the game start and you'll have the Gauntlet of Power. One of the next games I want to make is that Space Grunts Part 3, and then actually have them have that stuff happen. Although in Space Grunts 2 they already teleported back in time and actually find themselves in a dungeon, depending on how you play the game and if you can find that secret corridor or whatever. I don't remember what I did, but there is a way that you can actually already get back into the dungeons. That's pretty much how I've been building and sculpting my games the last couple of years, to just all have them tie into each other. And it's a lot of fun to do that, and there's a lot of, also it makes certain things easier because now you have a bunch of things, like there's always ooze as the bad guy, there's always certain enemies, certain stuff happening, and you can actually grab those things and combine them into games. Okay, so that's Heroes of Loot. Let me just start up the game and have a little play session. I'll talk you through some new stuff. I stripped the wizard from this demo. It wasn't the last demo, but I'm not happy with the character yet, so I removed it for now. The elf is my favorite character. This is the first room. The instructions are on this floor, and I copied this from Regulated City, but I'm not happy with how it all looks. There's too much stuff going on in this first room. If you're just a beginner playing this game for the first time, this is gonna be too much. So we need to maybe just create a bigger room to start in, and then we have more room to explain these things. But up here you see the Gauntlet of Power, which actually you need to grab it. All doors will stay locked until you grab the gauntlet, and now the doors open up like Binding of Isaac. Clear a room to continue and to the next room, and shooting is done automatically, and the level up is pretty cool. Now let me see if I can quickly level up for a bit. There are now more messages giving you information what's happening. This is now a pretty cool screen. You see that gauntlets appear in the screen. Just created this, and I just created this this last week, a couple of days ago. Very psyched with how it looks. And upgrades. This is pretty much. I'm still tinkering with this. I think this screen should only give you upgrades to the Gauntlet of Power, which means the loot magnetizer, attracting loot, and loot finder shouldn't be in here. They should be items in the game. I'm slowly building out that whole system, because if I remove them from this pool of items, it also means you can upgrade your weapons faster, and you can collect these things in different ways. There probably going to be some sort of shop, because there's probably going to be some sort of shop, because why not have a shop in a dungeon? Kind of makes sense. So yeah, maybe some treasure chests, or maybe these are just dropped by certain enemies. The boss battles will also drop certain items that are more rare, and I'm still trying to figure out the differences between what kind of items we have. Some are obviously just only connected to your weapon. There are keys, and then there are items that will enhance you or need a certain charging to be activated. There's just I'm still trying to figure out what the best kind of items are. I'm still trying to figure out the type of items we're gonna need and how to all implement them into the game. So Amulet of Speed, bullet speed +1. This one is for the Gauntlet of Power, so now all my bullets will shoot faster than they did, which is pretty cool to have. Now let me see if I can just quickly get to the boss fight. Okay, I obtained the boss room key, and I like that pose with him. It's a pretty cool pose, and warrior pose is actually different. He uses both hands. Oh, this is the treasure room. Let's go into the boss room. And the first boss, King Fire. And again, just being able to get back to the original Heroes of Loot, I can create these bosses pretty quickly because I had like 5 or 6 different bosses in those games, and I can just recreate them or even use them and just give them new code so that the whole battle is different than the original game. But we have all these bosses, all these characters, so it's pretty cool just to not have to figure out what kind of bosses I'm gonna add. I can just look at the graphics I had for the original games and just use those. I just have to concentrate now a little bit because I don't want to die on this guy. He's not worth it. So let's quickly see if we can. This is not going well, by the way. I'm almost dead already. But I am gonna beat him. I have to. And if not, I'm just gonna do some video magic and fake it. But I'll try to just beat him on the first try as well. He's not that difficult or hard, it's just I'm not playing very well. Already got through most of my hearts now. It's not really working. Oh, food, I need food. Come on, die, Mr. Fire. It doesn't help that I'm moving into it, but... There we go. And he will drop a special item, which is the dash boots. It should be random, but I already noticed that I'm always getting the dash boots from the first boss. It doesn't matter what game, and it doesn't feel random at all. So I think I made a little fault there somewhere, but I'll fix it. And it should be random. So that's how you're gonna get certain items. And then, like I said, I want a shop or store or something, or maybe extra treasure chests or things to gain other items and remove some of those from the level up screen. Level up screen happens a lot. This is what I liked on Vampire Survivors. You're constantly getting rewards for whatever you're doing. So this will remain, and this is pretty much the core of the game. You don't have to aim in the game. The controls are fairly easy. You can play it all with one hand actually, but I'm using my mouse to dash because that's pretty cool, and I can do a lot of stuff, like all this interaction can be done with the mouse. So like dashing is the right mouse button. I really like that, but I can also use the spacebar and I can just play with like one hand. That's kind of the fun of this game. I can just play this in a relaxed mode and still get very far into the game. And I really like that I'm getting back to some sort of arcadey feeling. I've been just growing my games bigger and bigger, and I prefer this much more. So the next couple of games are gonna be like this again, and hopefully also shorter development cycles. As I explained this in last week's video, you should watch that one. It's been a bit of a mess and a struggle lately, but I'm getting back on track, and the last couple of weeks working on this game have just been great, and the game is progressing pretty well. I think I've shown most of this stuff. You should just be downloading the demo right now. It's on Steam. This, what I'm playing right now, and a little bit more, I think, is now available in the demo. So there's 2 end bosses, there's a bunch of new weapons, items, there's new, well, the loot is more spraying, and there's just so many little improvements, and a lot of that based on feedback from the Discord. Thanks everybody for just dropping stuff there. I can't always implement everything, but there now was a lot of good stuff there. So most of the things people mentioned are in this demo and are changed or improved upon, and it just makes the game a lot better, and it should also make you guys a lot happier playing the demo. So go play the demo. I'll just quickly die here now, and oh, one more heart. I have the boss key. Oh, well, here it comes. If you don't want to spoil it, stop watching now for a couple of minutes. There's another boss fight coming. You should really check out the demo. Another favorite from the original game, Rocco. I don't think it was a boss in that game. It just, in the original version, this was just one of the bigger enemies roaming the dungeon. I now turned it into some sort of a little boss fight. And just throwing explosive rocks everywhere. It's mostly just trying to avoid it and then shooting him when he's not moving. And that's pretty much it. I think he's maybe easier than King Fire, so I might just twist those two around, or maybe I'll just randomize the whole order of bosses. Not sure yet. Depends on how many bosses I'm gonna add and how difficult they are. So yeah, I'm now blabbering and I'm just playing. And this is pretty much how playtest sessions go. I should be working, but then I just do a little playtest session and it's 4 hours later and I haven't done any work. So let me just die into these, fall into these spikes for a little bit, and then get some enemies to hit me. We died. Game over. Done. Okay, and that's it for this week's video, because I have like 5% battery life left on the camera. Been recording a bunch of videos for my wife's YouTube channel this week, so the battery has been, yeah. I have a second battery, but I don't want to grab it right now. Thanks for watching the video. Let me know what you think about Gauntlet of Power. Drop it in the comments below. Drop on the Discord to talk about the games. If you have any ideas or suggestions, whatever, there's a channel for Heroes of Loot 3. Come talk about it. And again, like the video, subscribe, and I will see you next week's video. Thanks. Bye.